Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you this morning or this afternoon?
Yeah, anytime you are listening. I'm good.
Today. Good.
I'm good too.
Good.
Thank you for asking. So, Michelle, I hope you could also see Michelle because I think she is beautiful outside, inside and outside, and she has
Mm.
a very she has a great energy. You can feel it through our conversation, but also I wish you can see her. She's beautiful. Well, that's aside. Please tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So I am a life and empowerment coach, and I specifically work with women who are starting on their journey of rediscovery, what I like to call a midlife awakening.
Mhm.
There's no such thing as midlife crisis. That's a naughty word in my book, because truly it's an awakening. And it happens to all of us at some point in our life, whether you get lost in motherhood or you lose yourself as you're building your business, your professional life, whatever it may be, inevitably we'll run into a point in our life where we're like, okay, what now? What's my
Mhm.
purpose?
Mhm.
And that's where mentors and coaches like me step in and help women really strip things down to the basic bare bones and really tap in with their inner self and rediscover who they authentically are so that they can go on living a more fulfilling and purposeful and authentic life. So that's what I do as an empowerment coach.
Mhm.
And I have, walked the path myself and had my own midlife awakening. And and I love to share my journey with women and in hopes that I can inspire other women to take that leap and to take that chance on themselves and to have that desire to find their happy and find what lights their soul on fire.
Wow, great. Well, of course, I hope nobody goes through that feeling of hopelessness or feeling not knowing what to do next,
Mhm,
but also they can use that time and that struggle and transform to something even better than what they
mhm.
had before. But um, what is the general feeling of being lost, or when do we know that we need those empowerment uh, coaching sessions? Like, what is
Mhm.
that common feeling?
Um, well, really like that oh shit moment. So if it's okay, I'll share a little bit of my
Sure,
backstory
sure.
and kind of how I got to
Mhm,
my oh shit moment.
mhm, mhm.
And maybe that will resonate with some of your listeners.
Hopefully.
Um, I was raised in a really strict religious ideology of what a perfect wife, woman, mother should be. And I genuinely thought growing up that my sole purpose in life was to be a wife and a mother. And I went through my teenage years, hit the age 18, and kind of had a little bit of a rebellion, stepped away from the religion and the church for a bit. And that, in hindsight, that was really where I first got to meet the real Michelle. And so I had my independence, my little rebellious stage for about 3 years. And at the age of 21, I started getting this nagging voice in the back of my head saying, hey, listen, girlfriend, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be wild and crazy and living your best life. You really need to be focusing on finding a man to settle down with so you can start a family.
Mhm.
And so that's exactly what I did. I found a young man who was very conservative and, really someone I felt would help me level up to the woman that I was supposed to be, the supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so I was married and had my first of 4 kids at 23, and I dove headfirst into being a wife and a mom and all those narratives and of what those roles meant and how I was supposed to be in fulfilling those roles. Like literally a Martha Stewart is
Mhm.
what I was aspiring to be. I needed to have the best home cooked meals. I needed to be doing the fancy crafts and the perfect homemaking skills. And I put on this really great facade to the outside world that everything was happy and I did have the perfect home life. But at home, it couldn't have been farther from the truth. I was struggling so hard to reach these expectations that I had really put in my head through the years of teachings and whatnot that I had taken on. And so I was constantly trying to reach these expectations, and I was constantly being very critical of myself and feeling like a failure because I couldn't reach those expectations and ended up depressed, lashing out at my family, the whole shebang. And
Mhm.
I really wasn't happy, but I still kept trying to push forward, trying to be this wife and mom woman that I should be. And it wasn't until my youngest son, my youngest child, went off to preschool. And all of a sudden, I had a few extra hours to myself without children during the day.
Those
And
precious times that you don't know
yeah,
what to do and then
yeah, it's
end up doing nothing.
exactly. And that's exactly it. There's only so much laundry you can do, only so much housekeeping you can do. The cupboards are stocked with groceries, and you're forced to sit with yourself in the
Mhm.
silence of your house. And you have your oh shit movement or moment. Like, what do I do now? Because I had like no hobbies outside of like all the Pinterest crafts and
Mhm.
things. I didn't, what made me, if you had to ask me what makes you happy, my family makes me happy,
Uh,
my children make me happy.
uh,
But really, what made me happy, I had no idea. I had
mhm.
no idea. And so I really had to take quite a bit of time to be like, okay, where do I go from here? And for me, it seemed very foundational to start with self-care and self-love because I'd been so devoted all these years, 15 years, to taking care of everyone else. I hadn't been taking care of myself. I was pre-diabetic. I had chronic hypertension. I was overweight. I was unhappy with my outward appearance, but I was very, I had, a lot of work to do on myself that I didn't really realize until I had that time to sit with myself without all the clutter and the chaos going on. And so for me, my first step was taking back my health and starting to focus on nutrition, starting to focus on moment or movement. Um, but I also felt very alone. And that's part of the reason why I feel so inspired to speak and share my story, is because I feel like these moments of not feeling like we have a sense of purpose is kind of a taboo subject. I feel like women are expected to have their shit together all the time and, to know what they're doing all the time and be, multifaceted. But, you get so lost in the shuffle of all the should be's, you totally lose sight of yourself. And then I felt super alone. I couldn't go talk to my friends because, well, for one, I didn't have really any friends because I was so focused on my family. But the friends that I could go to, I couldn't really share with them. They wouldn't understand because they were trying to reach these same expectations. And in my eyes, they were succeeding because that's all I saw from the outside. And I couldn't talk to my husband either because he
Mhm.
totally wouldn't get it. He works, brings in the money, and I do all the rest.
Mhm.
So I felt very, very much alone. And so I started looking for um, like influencers, I want to say, that I resonated with. YouTube was really big at the time. And so I started like looking for YouTube videos and YouTube influencers that had a message that resonated with how I was feeling that insignificance, that loss of purpose, and had a really good message of self-care and self-love and building yourself back up again. So for me, that's what that oh shit moment looked like. That's what that space looked like for me. And you know, for the women that I've spoken with, that's pretty much a consensus of, you know, just all of a sudden feeling that loss of purpose and not really knowing how to move forward from there.
Like, I cannot say anything else.
I know there's a lot. There's a lot to take in.
That's it. Like, I would say beautiful story. I know when you were going through it, it must be, you must have some like very hard times. But now that you are you and you are doing what you are doing, the result is perfect. So like I think it worth the struggle at least. What can I say? I don't know.
I know. No, it's true. It's like it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. I will tell you that. You know, but with the struggles comes the growth and the learning, right? And you can either fight the struggles and go back to the stagnation you were living in, or you can go with it and just roll with it and learn with it and grow and evolve and level up who you are. And it will happen time and time and time again. And it's such an amazing thing. In fact, one of my favorite quotes by me, I say it a lot, but I say one of the greatest privileges in life is the opportunity to continuously evolve. And I believe that in my core.
Well,
like yeah,
it's one of my favorite quote from you too.
Yeah.
Kudos. No, it's like you are so right. And I was just thinking the other day, I was complaining about something that, you know, in the house that we are struggling, you know, I was struggling with the kids, them being prepared to school, like as if school is just starting, you know, like it's a surprise that they need their like books inside their backpack, you know, it's a big surprise for them. So I was just complaining about it. And then I said, you know, complaining and never-ending complaining doesn't change anything. Either I have to change something or stop complaining about it. And I think empowerment is the same thing, right? Like maybe you are complaining about your situation, like people who are listening right now, or people who are going through the same phases, but complaining nonstop and doing the same thing over and over again is a nonsense, because nothing is going to change.
Yep.
But even maybe starting with a tiny step can end up with big results, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm a girl that goes 0 to 100, and I set these huge lofty goals and I want to be there yesterday. So it's really difficult for me to take baby steps, but I also recognize that, and I have experienced myself, that I will be met with resistance from the universe if I try to push too fast. Things will be way too difficult than they should be. And so really these basic baby steps in the discovery process are really key. They're little itty bitty stepping stones building up to this wonderful path that you're going to be led on. You know, besides taking back my health and starting with movement and my nutrition and whatnot, watching the YouTube videos, now podcasts. I'm always saying, find the podcast. There are so many podcasts like this one, like wonderful, wonderful platforms that have such a focus on self-care, self-love, and empowerment. Like that's what you want to be bringing into your life, getting rid of the negative clutter of the outside sources, social media, people who aren't supporting you, just generally anything that gives you the icks, get rid of it and start replacing it with the positive stuff. Podcasts, books, those are like really easy places to start. Get your kids off to school, or when you come home from work, put a podcast on and go for a walk, get that movement in and get the positive grounding message to carry you throughout your day or into the next day. So very basic, simple steps to start getting rid of the negative mindset and replacing it with a positive is really an easy way to start the journey.
So I have another question. So we are going through, let's say, our empowerment journey, but as you know, also old habits die hard. And even if it's toxic, even if it's like the worst environment possible, whatever we have been through, like whatever we have been living through, is always feel like home. So, and I'm sure that during that, like, and I also know from myself, when I'm going through a change, or let's say through an empowerment phase, I want to go back to the old self, or to the old environment, even though it can be the worst environment possible for me. How do we fight against that desire?
I know you want to go back because that's what's familiar and that's what's easy to just pull back instead of pushing through the hard shit that comes with the changes and the transitions. And I literally was just talking to someone the other day who was like, how do you get over the fear, that resistance of setting big goals, of wanting to make life shifts? That fear of failure, the fear not it's not going to work out. So it's just easier just to go back to where I came from. And, really, you need to be so crystal clear on your why. Why are you wanting to make this shift? Why is it's got to be so strong, your why, that it becomes a non-negotiable for you. And then once it becomes a non-negotiable for you, then there's really nothing that can stand in your way, because no matter what, you get that total determination to get from point A to point B, and nothing's going to stand in your way. You're going to look for other people, other platforms to help support your process, to almost help continuously like give you that power to get stronger, to grow into what your non-negotiable piece is. That's, for me, that's what health and fitness was. It became my non-negotiable piece, because for the first time in like forever, I was taking care of myself, and it felt really good. And I felt really empowered to be able to take care of myself like I'd never been able to do before. But this fitness and this journey also led me to setting a big goal of doing a fitness competition. And in fact, I did 3. Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God.
So I call it my sister wife to hot wife phase. I went from this frumpy homemaker to this super empowered, strong woman in the bling bikini with 5-inch hooker heels walking across the stage. And it felt so amazing and wonderful. But with that it started a bunch of conflict in my marriage. And ultimately, I ended up going through a really gnarly divorce because I had found my happy being happy became a non-negotiable piece for me. And when I was faced with the decision to fight for my happiness or go back to how life was, I chose my happiness. And it was my non-negotiable. And I had been doing so much self-work that I knew my worth and I knew I deserved to be happy. And I had faith that I was strong enough to persevere and get through to the other side. And I was, but oh my gosh, that was like probably the darkest time in my life to leave what turned out to be a really toxic marriage and fight for me. For the first time ever in my life, I fought for myself. And that's, kind of the, where you need to be when you're struggling in these life shifts is, being super clear on your why and being in a place where you're willing to fight and put all in and fight for it. You're that strong in your purpose, your why you want to have that shift in your life.
Yes. So we have to cover our whys. You will tell your clients about how, but also with who. Like, so I think also we have to be we have to pay attention to our environment during that time, because it's also very tiring to explain to everybody about your whys. And, maybe, I don't know if you have like family members and saying, oh my God, why are you doing this to yourself? Maybe about your exercising thing or about your divorce, explaining over and over again, like, why are you doing this? And also listening them to say, no, things will change, things will be better, just wait a little bit, just hang in there, kind of. Maybe they think that they are doing good thing to you, but it's not always the case. So how do you manage those circles around you during that time?
Well, I came to a place where I only relied on myself and I only trusted myself. And I did not share a lot of my journey because I was so afraid that someone would talk me out of it, that someone wouldn't understand, like you were saying, and make me feel like crap and like, why are you doing this? And make me question everything around it. So when I decided to do this fitness competition, no one knew. I didn't share on social media. My parents didn't know. The only people that knew was my husband. And then I told my kids last second, because you know how kids are in their big old mouths. So,
of course.
So I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to question what I was doing because it's none of their business anyways. And secondly, I didn't want to feel like I was doing it for anyone else, but for myself. And so I'm always saying, share your goals, share your, the things that you're doing, the changes you're making in your life with the people who will be behind you and support you 110%. The people that will be there to pick you up if you're having, when you're calling and you're like, oh my God, what was I even thinking? They'll remind you of your why. Yes. Those are the people that you want around you, the people that will remind you about the why. And I was an introvert anyways, but I became even more so because that positive energy and the movements and the shifts that I was making in my life that made me feel so incredibly good for the first time in forever. I didn't want anyone to belittle that stuff. And, when I was going through my divorce and things were, well, before I had filed, but things had been getting really bad for a couple of years, I didn't share with anyone either because I had the whole I can fix it mentality. And so my ex would tell my parents, and I was getting the lecture all the time, Michele, the grass isn't always greener. You can work it out. Maybe if you do this or you do that, or, Michele, this and that. and it wasn't until I came out and was telling my story, my side of it, and they were like, oh, okay. But, I became super private, and I still, like, to this day, I'm like, I kind of have this mentality of the outside world likes to destroy good things. Like, really feel like you find the select people, but I feel like, generally speaking, there's so much clutter and so much negativity in the outside world that oftentimes people have this desire to put down or to belittle, like, the good that other people are trying to do in the world. And so I just tend to not share it except with the people who I know are going to support me no matter what and
Mhm.
have my back. So yeah, that's what I would say is, like, really just keep your inner circle close,
Yes.
and the people who won't understand or won't support you, and who those people are, just
Mhm.
don't share.
Yeah. I always talk about this subject to even to my children. Quality versus quantity. You can have your entourage can be very crowded, but you can have that many good friends. You have
Mhm.
to know who is who, and also it's about everything in life. You can be invited to gazillion events, but you have to select where to go, with who to
Mhm.
go, and when to do it. It's up to you to create that world, and it's up to you to take care of yourself, not
Mhm.
only your physical self but your mental self, and also bringing in that energy that you get from other people. So it's very
Yeah.
important. So let's say I'm listening this podcast now and I want to get your services. How can
Mhm.
I reach out to you, and what is the process like? Do you have a introductory meeting?
Yeah.
How is the process? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I offer one-on-one coaching
Mhm.
because everyone's journey is
Of
so
course.
specific to them. So I offer one-on-one coaching, and the best way to get a hold of me is, or to reach out, it would be through my Instagram, and my handle is Fiercely Authentic Coaching. There's a link in my bio, and you can schedule a call with me. We'll just do a quick chat call, see where we're at, and see how we can work together. I also absolutely love it when people slide into my DMs
Mhm.
and to chat me up, say hi, bounce ideas off of me. I love being a sounding block for people and being able to support where I can. So, yeah, Instagram is the best place to connect with me, and then we go from there.
So you don't have a specific length for your program. It's up to the, I think, person who is like getting your
Yeah,
service, right?
so yeah, more specifically, I offer a 3-month container,
Mhm.
coaching container,
Mhm.
that comes with bi-monthly coaching calls, or 1-hour calls with me. And then I offer Voxer support, pretty much 24/7 Voxer support.
Mhm.
So I'm always available when things get rough, or how do I
Oh,
handle this, and
uh-huh.
whatnot. So and then also, whatever resources my clients need, whether it's videos, meditations, tapping exercises, whatever their specific needs are, I provide all the resources to help them along their journey.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, as you know, I have three questions for you, and maybe we went over them a little bit, but I want to also get in more detailed answer from you.
Mhm.
So my first question is, what were the breaking points in your 30s that made you change your life, and how did they change it? You told us a little bit about it, but maybe
Mhm.
there are some things that you would like to add to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I shared, that moment of sitting with myself and realizing that I had completely lost myself in motherhood, was the very pivotal point in my life. And taking the small actionable steps towards discovering myself through bringing in outside resources and looking for resources that I felt aligned with and resonated with, in the form of self-care and self-love and empowerment to give me the nudges that I need to, start that rediscovery journey.
Mhm. Well, I also believe that you can empower yourself and still be a good mom. Actually, you can
Mhm.
empower yourself and be even a great mom. I don't know if those exist because I am like,
Yes.
my value in the motherhood is like stock market. 1 minute I'm the best mom in the world, and the second minute I'm the worst mom in the world. So I don't know.
No, you know what? You are absolutely, to be empowered is to be a better mom, wife,
Wife,
partner,
yes.
really, because going after what lights your soul on fire, what makes you happy, taking care of you, what a
Mhm.
freaking amazing example you're setting
Of course.
for your children and your family and your friends. So
Mhm.
truly, being an empowered woman is setting an amazing example for the people around you. You're leading by example. So I absolutely, you're correct.
Yes, I think so too. And for children, it's not what you say, it's what you do that make the example.
Yeah.
So like you said, seeing you going through your fears, changing, seeing you change in a
Hmm.
better way, I think it can be the best gift you can give to them.
Hmm. Yeah,
uh,
being vulnerable in front of your children is huge too.
mhm,
For me, speaking for myself, I
mhm.
always was trying to put on a strong front. Like if I had to cry, I would save it until I was in the shower and no one hopefully would be bothering me, and I'd cry it out in the shower. But as I came more into myself, I realized I was doing my kids a disservice by not showing all the aspects to me. It's okay if I was upset and frustrated and I was crying, and they would get concerned, and I would explain to them, I
Yeah.
am so frustrated because this is not working out for me, or,
Uh-huh.
whatnot. So finding that courage to be vulnerable, it will be so amazing too. It's so important for your kids to see you not only in your best, but also in your worst and your most vulnerable space as well.
Yes, and how you are dealing with it, and how you
Mhm.
are changing yourself or the
Mhm.
environment around you to deal with it. And I
Mhm.
think also it's very important to show your vulnerability to your children, because not
Mhm.
only your daughter but also to your sons, like because there
Yes.
is also sometimes this message that people want to pass to their sons about like not showing their emotions, not
Yeah.
being too vulnerable. But I think in this day and world, as we are seeing
Yeah.
around us with all the news, maybe people, men and women, they need to show their emotions more, understand each other's emotions more, and work on being their best like that, right?
Mhm. I 100% agree, and this could be a whole other podcast.
Yes. Maybe that's a promise from you.
A promise. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I have three sons and a daughter, and
Uh-huh.
it was very, very important to me to be able to hold that safe space for my kids to be vulnerable emotionally and feel that they could come to me with whatever and cry with me. And because I'm their mom, I would cry with them,
Yeah.
and we just do it together. And you're so, so correct. And not only for the girls, but for the boys, it's so important to hold that safe space where they feel that they can process emotions as a human should be able to do.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I got my promise. Don't forget about it. I
There's
will
another,
remember.
write it down.
Let me go to my second question.
Yes.
So, one thing that you swore by in your 30s that doesn't make any sense as of
Oh my
today.
God. Oh my God. Let's see. Where's the list? The one huge negative narrative was I need to have my shit together all the time. Girlfriend, you do not need to have your
No,
shit together all the
no,
time. And
no.
it really goes back to that vulnerability piece too.
Yeah.
And, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and not, for so many years, I had this perfectionist mindset, and I tried to maintain it in a home and I failed horribly, but out in public, everything needed to be perfect, and I needed my kids all in line and their shirts always matched their socks and, like
Oh
all
my
the
God.
things. Yeah, it was
Your
bad.
perfect and my perfect doesn't even have, they are not even in the same league. And I was thinking that I am the one who is,
Yeah, I told you I was trying to be like Martha Stewart, like
oh my God, yeah. Maybe you
everything had to
even
be just
surpassed
so.
Martha Stewart. You were like
Yeah.
even more than Martha Stewart.
Yeah. But that's really like the big thing I believed in my 20s and my 30s was, I really everything needed to be perfect and be in its place. And my kids needed to be just so. And I had to, be the perfect homemaker. And I had to, have a Christ-centered home was like really big. And because by achieving all of these things, I was ultimately bringing my family closer to salvation. And that was like my goal. I was doing all the things that I needed to do to elevate my family. And coming through my awakening, I've discovered that, being imperfect, being quirky, making mistakes, all these things have created the unique qualities that make me exactly who I am and who I'm meant to be in this very moment. And I've learned to embrace my imperfections as, you know, just I'm perfectly imperfect, as we all are. And
Yes.
our imperfections make us uniquely us. So not having my shit all together all the time, not trying to be like this person that I'm obviously not, is the greatest narrative that I like smashed through in my awakening and have come out the other side, embracing exactly who I am.
Yeah. I don't know who started that idea that, we should always have like the perfect attitude and, mood and house and everything, but
Yeah.
I don't wish well for that person who started it.
Yeah,
But
I think I mean, honestly, I'm like, I think, well, it's obviously a generational thing.
yes,
And
but
I almost want to say that it's really started. I mean, I wouldn't know because I haven't done the research, but in my mind, perhaps in the 1950s or 40, when the TV started coming into play, depicting like these perfect families and perfect homemaker and the perfect husband and the perfect children. And then people started, it was like the social media back then, and people were
uh-huh,
striving to have this home life, and this was the standard
uh-huh,
that people started to, or women started to try to meet. And then it's just been carried through the generations. But I mean, there's so many other things, but I was like, that was the first thing that came to my head. I was like,
yeah,
well, we want to see social media and all these influencers and people on social media, and we're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just be like them. Like she has it all together. And it's kind of like the same thing, but like back then,
yeah, yeah.
back in
Well,
the 1900s.
well, damn you.
Anyway, that was the first thing that came in my mind. I was like, you know what? All those like 1950s, like perfect, homes. Maybe that leave it to
Yeah.
Beaver. Maybe that's where it came from.
Well, that's a very good approach and good investigation in just a minute. Like, so congratulations to you. Well, like I agree with you, like more than 100%, if I can. But also, like, if there are some people who enjoys being that great, you know, matching the socks and the jacket tone and the, you know, like being on this perfection 24/7, well, good for them. I wish they were also my friend and taking care of me that much. But if it's creating extra burden, extra stress for you, and then of course that stress transition to your family and to your environment for sure, then I think it doesn't worth it. It doesn't worth the effort, and
No.
nobody is enjoying it.
Exactly.
Even people in your family,
Yeah.
your friends, nobody is enjoying it. With that stress. Yeah.
It is just not worth it.
Yeah.
Just like, it's no one, and like you said, no one's happy. Like you're a grumpo, no one's happy. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Well, let's go to our third question. So if your 30-year-old self would be sitting right across you right now, what would you tell her to do, not to do, or to be careful with?
I would encourage her to not be so harsh on herself, to really embrace and fall in love with who she is and her imperfections, and not just imperfections, but all of the amazing qualities that she does possess that she doesn't even realize she has because she's so focused on being something that she's not. So I would really encourage her to, try to take some time to reflect on herself and to do some little thing of self love, even if it's 15 minutes of journaling or reading or doing a little drawing or listening to music that she enjoys. Just take 15-30 minutes and just really step inside herself and fall in love with exactly who she is and recognize that she's perfect just the way that she is.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know that 30-year-old Michele, but I know the new and improved one. I met her and she is great. So
Me.
Let's remind our listeners one more time how they can reach out to you. Because I'm sure they also want this energy in their life.
Please reach out to me on Instagram. My handle's Fiercely Authentic Coaching. Like I said before, please, please, please slide into my DMs. Say hi. Let me know you listened to the podcast and it resonated with you. And I just would love to chat and hear from you and help empower you and support you on your journey.
Well, Michele, thank you so much. I had a blast. It was
Me too.
so nice to talk to you. And I'm sure people who are going to listen, they are going to sense our energy, this great vibe. And whenever or wherever they are listening, I hope they will have like a little smile in their face. Well, I got my promise. I'm gonna see you again. We are gonna do
yes, ma'am. Yes, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't think my face actually hurts from smiling. I don't think I've ever laughed so much on a podcast. So thank you so much for having me. It's just been an absolute pleasure and such a treat to meet you and chat with you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.